Stan Lee. Turn it on. I'm so great, I don't know how to turn the microphone. Shouldn't it be attached to something? Can you hear me? Hello? I was about to say years ago, if I had known I was so great, I'd have asked for a raise. Anyway, you're very lucky to be here to have me cast these words of wisdom at you. I'd like to feel that you're all taking notes. And it's good to be here, but nobody told me what the hell I'm supposed to do or say. So I'm standing here in front of you, totally at a loss, hoping some idea will come to me, saying to myself, what would they like to hear? I have no idea what you'd like to hear. I have no idea if you're just sitting here waiting for the next important panelist. Why is there a boom in my voice when I'm talking? Technology, huh? If I wasn't hoarse from having talked so much before, I would put this away, and you could hear my dulcet tones. They've already worn me out, so you're stuck with the boom. Now, unless you want to see a grown man just die in front of you because there's nothing to say, ask me a question, for God's sake.
I have to start with superheroes. Why are you so attracted to creating superheroes?
I'm not attracted to it. They pay money for it, so I do it. Actually, you wouldn't know this to listen to me. The thing I most like to write is comedy. So very often I'll go to a movie studio, a distributor, and I'll say, hey, I got an idea for a comedy movie for you. And they say, well, does the character fly, or can he punch his hand through walls? I say, no, a comedy. Yeah, well, does he wear a costume? No, I'm talking about they don't understand. With me, if the guy doesn't have a costume and a superpower, they don't even want to talk to me. In fact, he wouldn't talk to me if not for the super. In fact, he isn't doing much talking now. I shouldn't have to do all the work. You're the interlocutor. Come on. Wait a minute, are you doing it without a mic, or do you have one of those mysterious things pinned to you? Oh, so I had to hold this here. Some great way to treat a guest. I think I'm a guest, I don't know.
Well, that leads me to our next question, which is collaboration. Clearly you love to collaboration. You love to collaborate. Why is that?
You don't love to collaborate. I'm not an artist. I have to collaborate. If I could draw like those guys, you'd never even hear of them. It would all be totally by Stan Lee. But I can't draw the script. So I take these guys, I teach them how to draw, I make them famous, and what do I get for it?
Can you actually explain that to me, the Marvel method? You're credited with coming up with a new way of writing comics in the mid-'60s. Tell me about the Marvel method and why you avoid it.
You are good. You remember all these questions without even looking at your notes. I wish I could do that. The Marvel method. What happened was, I had to write a lot of books in the early days. I was doing the Fantastic Four and the Hulk and the X-Men and the Spider-Man and so forth. And I think we were still doing some other dumb books. We still had a few monster things, and I don't know. So anyway, I was writing just about everything, and I couldn't keep up with it. And the artists were freelancers. Now, that means they weren't getting salaries. So if they didn't draw anything, they weren't getting paid because they weren't on salary. I couldn't let a guy like Jack Kirby or Steve Ditko or John Buscema or John Romita or any of them sit around with nothing to do. But if I was writing a script for Kirby, I couldn't be writing Ditko's script at the same time. So he'd have nothing to draw. So these guys were good at making up their own stories if they had something to start with. So I would say to Ditko, look, I haven't got time to write your script, but here's what I think the story should be. We'll get a villain called the Green Goblin, and he'll do this and that, and you come up with some fight scenes, I don't care, and we'll do this and that. I left the tough stuff to him. And he would go ahead and just draw whatever he wanted based on what I told him, and I would finish Kirby's story. By the time I was through with Kirby, Ditko had penciled in his whole story, he'd give it to me, and I would put in dialogue balloons and captions according to what he had drawn, and I would change the emphasis and add things, but basically, I said, this is a great way to do it. So then I had Colan do that, and I had Gil Kane, I had all the artists. I would just give them the germ of an idea, they would draw it, I could put in the dialogue later, and that way I was able to write all these books pretty much by myself. And it was great. They did the work, I took the credit, there was no better way to work it. And that was the Marvel method, which really is not, it's not a good way to call it. It's not the right name. It should be the Stan Lee method. I'm going to talk to people about that.
I have to say, Stan, I think you're being a little bit modest. I know modesty is
I'm the most modest guy. I don't like to talk about myself. I don't like my name to be out in public. I'm a very self-effacing guy. It's my greatest virtue.
Yeah, I think that might work. No.
My voice isn't always this way, but I've been talking for 2 days and I'm losing my voice. He doesn't care.
I want to tell a brief story. In 1965, there was a New York blackout, and all the writers, including Roy Thomas, who told me this story, said they didn't finish their work. And the next day, Stan Lee delivered his pages, and he said to everybody, well, where's your work? And they said, well, there's a blackout, Stan. And he said, haven't you ever heard of candle? So, how hard-working were you? I mean, how many books were you writing every month?
I was so great the way I worked. There was a blackout, but I had those stories to do, so my wife got me a few candles. I lit them, and I typed the story. It was no big deal. These guys just obviously, I didn't pay them enough, they couldn't afford candles. You've also been praised for the reality in your stories. In fact, you went so far as to put yourself and other comic book artists in the stories. Why did you want to do that? I've always loved cameos. Actually, I don't know. I told you I like funny stuff, and I never had a chance to write anything funny, so I thought it was kind of funny to put Kirby and me and anybody else into the stories when least expected, because I couldn't keep using Willie Lumpkin all the time. And I don't know, I just did it for fun, that's all. And also, when you write stuff, the most important thing is to give the reader something he or she doesn't expect. And these little artistic cameos were, I think, and I hope, unexpected.
They were unexpected and they were delightful, because it made me feel like I was part of the story.
Well, everything I did was delightful, but I know what you mean.